Hi graphic designers. Here's a new video on doing the Aretha Franklin stamp that I just posted to the blog. I have a slightly different way of cropping to fit the scallop, and this might help you as you work on your own projects. Let's see here. Let me just bring the blog back. So I just posted this student project from my day classes. Everybody in the day class did this together with me, and we went through how to set up a template, how to crop the picture, and arrive at a final product that looks clean, legible, and consistent. So a couple of things to notice. The margins between the edge of the image and the edge of the scallop is consistent in all four stamps on all four sides. The distance of the margin line from the top of the 50 to the top of the N is the same as the distance from the top of these letters to the edge of the frame. And the fonts are very legible because they're set against a dark background, not a busy background. That helps immensely in trying to keep things legible and clean. So to get started, most of you saw on the syllabus here, link to download scallop template. That'll save a bunch of time. When I'm using the horizontal image, I'll choose the horizontal scallop. Click on it to make it large, very important. And then right-click, copy image. Come back to Photoshop and say File, New, Create, and paste it, Control V or Edit Paste. And then it's on its own separate layer. Good. Next we need to gather up our images. So let me come back here. Open a new Google window, go to Images. I'm going to do Aretha again. And kind of important is we want our image to be large enough, because when you do a straight image search, it pulls up everything with that with her name, but some would be small, like this one is only 600 by 400 pixels. This one 170 by 200, even much worse. We want the minimum distance along the widest part of the image to be at least 1,000 pixels. See, this one is almost 2,000 wide, and this one's 3,000. So an easy way to assure that everything you're looking at is to use this button tools. I'm using Chrome, by the way. Always use Chrome. Then come over to the left size and click large. And now the search returns only large enough pictures. Okay? Good. So I want to find 4 black and white. If I choose a color picture, I'll probably convert it to black and white. Clean images that have a plain background. And here's some of the early Aretha. This one's that's a pretty good one. It's 1240 by 775. So I'm going to right click, copy image, and come over to Photoshop and put it in its own separate document for now. So File, New, and Create, and Paste. So notice how this is quite a bit more rectangular than the scallop is. Okay, so what we need to do is crop this, not skew it, not stretch it, but crop it to fit this space. And what we want to find out is how big is the space. That's the easiest thing to do. So what I want to do is take the crop tool. No, before the crop tool, I'm going to grab the rectangular marquee tool to find out exactly how big I would like the image to be. So I'm clicking and drawing a marquee that's equidistant on all 4 sides. Okay, and then Control C, that's to copy, Control N for File New, and it tells us right here that the size that we are looking for is 1401 by 1085. So I don't need to create this, I just need those numbers, and you may want to write it down. 14. What yours might be a little different, so don't worry if it's not exactly like this. The idea is consistency. Okay, so let me close that. So now I'm coming over to this image and setting up my crop tool. And I want to click in the upper left here, width times height times resolution, and I want to put 1401 in my first box, and 1085 in the second box. And then I want to move by clicking on the image and moving her to think about where my price and where Aretha Franklin's going to go. So give me a second, a pause here. What I'm doing is actually in the pause looking around so I don't waste too much time with the video for other images, and I'll get back to the cropping issue in a second. So I'm going to copy this one, come over to Photoshop, File New, oops, File New, Create, Paste, click, move her, and checkbox. And I want to just check that we're 1400 by 1085 by going to Image, Image Size, 1401, 1085. So OK to that. And back to the search here. That one's a little fuzzy, but I'll take it anyway so I don't waste too much time. Copy image, come over to Photoshop, File New, Create, Paste, Control V, and then crop it. And let's see, I've got 1, 2, 3, and my original here. I hit Escape to get out of the crop tool and Control D to deselect this. One more image, and we'll bring it home here. Alright, here's a case where it's in the last month or two of her life, and she died at 76, tragically, from pancreatic cancer. But it's 1600, so I'm going to grab this one, copy image, File New, Create, and Paste. And we still have the crop set up, and I'm keeping her centered, so that's good. And then click, and then hit the check mark. Good. Now this one is the only color one, so I'm going to make it black and white. So I'm going to go Image, Mode, Grayscale. And I might as well say Flatten and discard the color. And it looks lovely the way it is, so I'm going to leave it alone. All right. So I'm going to take this, start with this, and Control A to select all, Control C to copy it, and coming back to the first one, I'm going to Control V to paste it, and notice it drops right in with everything perfectly aligned. So this is a good time to set up our margins. If you don't see the rulers here, you can pull them out by hitting Control R, and then you click inside the ruler and drag out a margin line, like so. And oops, my margins, I need to set those up. Let me pause the video. I'm using the latest version of Photoshop CC 2019, and so they defaulted to a new canvas margin of black. And to change that, you go into Edit, Preferences, Guides, Grid Slices, and this was set to black up here. So I just changed it to cyan, and then say OK. Alright, so I'm clicking and dragging out another one, and I want it to be exactly the same width as the first one. Pull this down into here, and this down to here. Notice how the lines are equidistant from the outer edge of the canvas, and you can tell because there's a square in each corner here. If there was a rectangle, then these would be unequal. And great, so I'm going to put white in the foreground by clicking this little arrow or hitting the letter X, clicking on the Type tool, choosing Arial and bold, and typing in all caps at, let's see what 72 point looks like. Alright, I want it a little larger than that, so I'm going to highlight it and try 90 points. And check mark. And then I'm going to rotate this counterclockwise. So I want to use the free transform tool, which is Control T, and then holding Shift down to constrain it. That's one way. We can just go out here and rotate it, and then check mark, and the letter V, and then I'm going to move this right against the guideline and the A right onto that guideline, just like so. And then grab the Type tool again and come up to this side, and I'm going to change the bold back to regular and bring the point size up. Let's try 150 for starters. Whoops. And 55. Okay, I'm going to go bigger. So 200. That's looking pretty good. And I want to tighten up the distance between the fives, so I'm going to use kerning. So I click on this little icon right here, set between the circle slash and this T on a warp. Click that, and right here where it says VA, you open that, and a minus value is going to tighten up the distance. So I used minus 50 here. Check mark. The letter V is a shortcut to the Move tool, and move it right into the corner. You can nudge it with your arrow keys also, up arrow, down arrow, etc. And then I'm going to pull a new guideline out to the edge of the 55. Right there. Good. Type tool one more time. And take this point size maybe down to 100. And type all caps again, USA. And that's too big, so I'm going to take that down to, let's try 72. And I want to check mark, Move tool, move it in. Might be a little small, but I'm going to experiment with stretching this first, which is a nice effect. So I click on my Type tool, highlight the text, and stretch it out 200. Yeah, I need to go a little bit bigger, 90 points. And okay, so the USA is just a little bit wide, so highlight it again, Type tool, and take this down 150. Okay, still wide. 100. Still wide. 90. There's 90 on the stretch and 90 point. Okay, so let's look at this without the guidelines. I'm hitting Control H just to see. So this is so important to the project, is that the guidelines are equidistant. This A, corner of the A is the same distance to the edge of the image as the top of the A is, which is the same distance as the top of the 55 to the top to the image. And on the right, it's also the same. Good. Now let's drop in 3 more images, and we can wrap this project up pretty much. So going to this image, just checking that it's the right size. It is, so I'm going to hit Control A to select all, Control C to copy it. Come back to the original. I have the picture I dropped in first highlighted by clicking on this layer too, and then paste, Control V. And whoops, that's the wrong size. So Control Z. What happened here? Yep, close. That's correct. So I need to check this image for sizing again. Image size. Okay, here's a little glitch here. It's 1401 almost by 1085 almost, and the resolution here is 1.575. If we change that to 1, it'll fix the size. So Control A, Control C, and Control V, and it just drops right in perfectly. I have a tiny bit of a black line at the bottom, so I'm going to use my Move tool and hit the arrow key one tap down. Good, moving right along. We're going to go to the next one, check the image size. It's 1401 by 1085 by 1, good. So Control A, Control C, Control V, bam. You see it just works out perfectly. And then I'm not loving this image. I'm going to pause the image and find a better version of it. It's a little bit too blown out, so let me pause here. Okay, here's a sweet one when she was young, so 1600 wide, that's good. Right click, copy image, back to Photoshop, Control N or File New, create, Control V, and I'm seeing some editing I could do on the outside of this. But that's another topic for another time, but I would like to darken that. Let me just show you briefly how I would do that. I'm picking up the elliptical marquee tool, which is hiding under the rectangular, coming to the center, holding Alt, pulling an oval, clicking Select and Mask, clicking Feather, just so this line blends in, and then OK, and then I invert the selection. So what's selected is outside, then darken it with Image, Adjustment, Brightness, Contrast. And that makes it a lot better. Deselect, Control D. Next, Crop Tool. 1401, 1085. Click on the picture. I'll center her up. And check mark. Check the image size. 1401 by resolution 1, good. Control A, Control C, and back to this one, Control V. Okay, let me pause for a second here. I'm trying not to make the video too long, but the last step of this is to get these all onto one larger canvas. Getting rid of the crop tool by just clicking on the Move tool here. But here they all are, 4 images, 1 layout, 1 template. And when I turn the eyeball off on each layer, I reveal the image below it. So basically what we're going to do each time, it's just a simple rinse and repeat operation. I'm going to layer, flatten the image, Control A to select all, Control C to copy, and create a new document to paste it into. And we're going to make that, instead of pixels, turn it to inches, and make that 50 wide, and 40 tall. At 72 dpi is fine. And create, and then Control V and paste it, just like that, and move it. Okay, then we're coming back to the first one and stepping backwards twice. Alt Control Z is the shortcut. Then turn off this first eyeball and rinse and repeat. So layer, flatten image. Okay. Control A, Control C. Come to your last document and paste it. And we're just centering these up a little bit. Okay. Trying to keep the distance between the stamps even on all 4 of them, and you'll see. So here we go again. Come back here, edit, step backwards, or Alt Control Z. Turn off the next eyeball. Layer, flatten image. Okay. Control A, Control C, Control V. Snap it in so that these are equidistant. Since she's looking that direction, I'll stick her on that side. And edit, step backwards, Alt Control Z, turn off the next eyeball. Layer, flatten image. Control A, Control C, Control V. All right, there you have it. So that's the way it should look. It should be clean. It should be consistent. You only lay out one template. Make it bold. Make it clean. To save this, if you save it as a JPEG, all these layers will get compressed automatically. But you can also go layer, flatten image, and then file, save as. And finish stamp. And know where you're putting it, and then hit save and post it to the blog. So have fun, good luck, see you on the next project.